Hi, I'm Ian Mean, I'm editor of the Western Daily Press. Welcome to the Bristol Distinguished Address Series. Tonight I'm interviewing Stephen Varley, who's Chairman and Managing Partner, UK and Ireland of EY. Stephen, can I talk to you about the ethics of accountancy? You employ something like 12,500 people. You're one of the world's largest accountants. How important is ethics to you?
Ethics is incredibly important to us as an organisation. We spend a lot of time in the UK and 185,000 people around the world talking about our values and our value set. And whilst there might be many cultures, as you'd expect in a large global organisation, we have one set of values. And all of our people are recruiting on those values, and then we promote those values. We have a global Chairman's Values Awards, and all of that, I think, underpins our ethical approach to doing business.
Yeah, we've seen some accountants under the microscope, haven't we, for advising companies about tax or avoiding tax or whatever. Where do you stand on the situation with what a client wants?
Well, what a client wants for us fundamentally has to fit into the laws and regulations of the country in which they're operating. Now, our job as a professional services firm is to make sure our clients are fully aware of and follow all laws and regulations. Then I guess today there's another discussion we have with clients, which is on how they feel about it. And maybe 20 years ago, this wasn't an easy discussion to have in a boardroom. But more and more we find that clients want a further lens applied to their decision making, which is a public interest lens. And we have that in our own organisation. We think a lot about how will the public interest be served by the decisions we make.
Would you actually turn down a client who wanted to do something that you didn't believe in?
Yes, and we turn down clients every day, every week, every year that want to do something that doesn't fit to our ethical, our value set.
Yeah. Now, I want to ask you about the current economic situation where, you know, the general election bell has rung. We're into a general election mode. How do you see the economic situation going over the next few months when we have a general election in May?
I think if we look at the economy, some of the basic factors are still very positive. We see consumer spending, maybe a little bit too much consumer debt, but we see an economy that's come maybe off the heat of the last 12 months, coming down a little bit. But compared to many other countries, especially those in Europe to the West, I think we're in a great position in the UK. Now what we do see is some greater political risk. We've got past the Scottish referendum, now we're into a general election before May next year. So we do think there's going to be some headwinds to hit the economy. But our clients are telling us that they still feel confident, they're still recruiting and they're still investing, and long may that continue.
And some of them piling up the cash, I guess.
Yes, for many actually, they've been piling up cash for several years now. And what we see though is they're now starting to invest that. They're starting to invest that in employment. That's why our unemployment figures have gone down so much in the UK. But more crucially, over the last 12 months, we've been tracking that they've been investing in capital. That's critical to get our supply chains moving.
Yeah. Now, on political issues, where do you stand on the whole issue of free movement of workers in the EU?
Well, we're very positive about free movement of workers in the EU. In fact, our statistics show that part of the UK's growth over the last few years has been taking advantage of good immigration where we have skills gaps, not just from Europe, but from around the world. So we're pro-good immigration.
So how do you think that challenge is going to work out for this government?
Well, I think that's one of the big political footballs over the next, 8 months. And I'm no political pundit, but I think that where the Labour Party are and the Conservatives, UKIP, Lib Dems, that's definitely going to be a battleground they're all fighting on.
Now today we've seen the National Health Service, the new guy who's running that, giving us a plan. How do you see the National Health Service? I mean, it's a huge financial situation, isn't it, to this country. Should the National Health Service, Steve, be taken out of politics as such?
Well, I don't know. I'm no expert on these matters. I did think the Secretary of State for Health today, Jeremy Hunt, did a very good speech about how impressed he was with the report that's hit the news today. So I think Jeremy Hunt's got a tough job, but he's doing a good job.
Now, what about your people? I guess the most important people are your people. Is that right?
Very much. We don't have assets per se. We're not a manufacturing company. We're a professional services firm. So the 12,500 people that we have are incredibly important to us.
But you're an accountant. There are lots of accountants like you. What makes you better?
Well, there's three things that we talk about making us better and different actually as well. The first one is we're the most global in our industry. And when we talk about EY, it doesn't really feel appropriate to me to focus on a national organisation. We're a global firm, 185,000 people around the world, but one global firm. And the second for us is our dedication to a big theme, which is entrepreneurship. We've been a huge supporter of entrepreneurs. We have a wonderful programme called the Entrepreneur of the Year that runs in nearly 150 cities around the world and is huge in the UK. We have a big final every October where everyone comes down to London, to one of the great London hotels, and we celebrate Britain being good at entrepreneurship. Something that we're probably a little quiet about as well. And the last thing that I think makes my firm different is the inclusive environment we create. So for example, in the partnership of over 600 partners, we have the highest female percentage of partners than anybody else in my industry. And we're really proud of that, and that I think makes us more inclusive than anybody else.
So you don't have a glass ceiling?
Well, we have still vestiges of a glass ceiling. What we're doing is making sure that we work very hard to make sure all of our talent has an opportunity to make part in the business.
Now, what about young people, apprentices, trainees? What opportunities are for them?
Well, we've changed tack over the last few years. Maybe 10 years ago, out of the about 900 young people we recruit every year, we're the third largest graduate recruiter in the UK. What we used to do is mainly focus on a small number of campuses, small number of universities, including here. What we now do is starting to include far more school leavers. So we recognise there's some talent, sometimes for economic reasons, doesn't have the opportunity to go to university, doesn't want to be saddled with the debt. So we have now a very good specialised school leaver programme.
Right.
And this year we'll take on about 800 undergraduates and 150 school leavers. But more than that, we also have a programme for 16-year-olds, give them confidence in the workplace. So they come into EY offices for 6 weeks at paid placement, and we hope they leave with an aspirations maybe a little higher than the day they joined us, and also some experiences and skills to put on their CVs.
How did you join?
Well, I was recruited in 2005. I was working for another firm in professional services. I worked in professional services all of my career. I actually started off though with an engineering degree. So I left university with an engineering degree. I was so surprised at my decent results. I took a year off, went travelling around the world for a year. When I came back, like I guess lots of young people, I owed a bunch of money. I was debt up to my eyeballs with banks. I didn't really want to be a banker then. There was a lot of people going into banking in the early 1990s. This idea of being a management consultant came along and joining a professional services firm. I joined my first firm on June 24, 1991, a day that sticks in my head. In my brand new suit, the first time I wore a suit, walking into this big glass building, and I rolled forward far too many years, and here I am today.
And how did you, your firm's gone under a bit of change. I knew it as Ernst & Young, and today I've got your card here, EY. Why did you change the name?
We've got no idea how long it takes a firm of accountants like ourselves to go from the big leap from Ernst & Young to EY. That was a big test for us, a lot of
But doesn't Ernst & Young say who you are?
Say who we are?
Doesn't it say who you are?
Yeah, of course it says who we are, but we feel that EY is more fit for the modern era. I think it's just a signal of change and a more global organisation.
Right, fine. Now, your item club, that's got some resonance, it's picked up, isn't it? Tell us something about that.
Well, the item club is a great success for us. The item club is the only independent economic outfit that uses the same model as a treasury. So we use the same model as a treasury, but sometimes we come out with different results. So for example, we thought the UK would come out of recession before the Treasury did. So we were loud and proud with that. And I think actually how the country feels is somewhat based on items like GDP and whether we're in recession or not. So we were very positive that we were one of the first to call that we thought the UK come out of recession.
Now, one last question. If you were David Cameron now, you're going into the election, what would be your priorities for the UK?
If I was David Cameron, I think there's two things in my mind. One which I think he's done very well indeed, needs to continue at, which is a connection to business. If we can get business fully kicked into growth, creating jobs and prosperity, I think that'll power the UK forward, and I think we've got that opportunity. The second thing, where there's more work to be done, is making sure all the UK's population have a trickle-down effect from that prosperity. I think the challenge today is that not all pockets of society that we live in feel like the prosperity is giving them more pounds in the pocket, more money to spend on the high street. I think that should be a concern for all of us.